Oh boy. What's up, guys? I am putting this link. Wait for Slow to get in here. I'm putting this on Twitter, and I need to mute that because there you go. Put this link on Twitter for everybody. We had to come over to StreamYard. Discord wanted to take a crap, but it is what it is. Not going to stop our sunshine. Twitter. And then go to. I know I just took it off. Oh yeah, we got to back out of Discord. Yeah. Discord. Is he in someone there? Yeah, there he is. Sir.
Yo, what up?
Yeah, definitely need to. Where's Discord? So I close that out. There it is. Discord. Out. All right. And here's the tweet. And I'm just going to quote tweet this. New link for stream. Sorry. There we go. And Slow-mo, you there? Oh, Slow-mo needs to connect their mic. Device they will. What's going on, guys? Grumpy Shaman. What's up, everyone? We back. Yeah, what's up? That guy is Smitty. Halo, everyone. Man, it's the dog. We had to come on over here for this because it decided to say we don't like you. We don't like you. Let's see. So it's pretty wild, but we'll make it work. We will make it work. Wait for Slow-mo to get back in here. He's like his mic took a crap. DPS is the best podcast. Yo, listen, I appreciate that. Right now, OBS really didn't like us, and Discord really didn't like us. Let me call him, tell him what's going on with his. Oh, he said his yeah, his stuff took a crap. So yeah, I get it. So first of all, welcome to DPS Podcast episode 159. It's gonna be we're gonna redo this again. First of all, I really appreciate everybody that did come through, anybody that came back over from the original stream. Sucks, man. We had a lot of people over there, and we gotta rebuild that back up, but we'll get it done. But as usual, I'm your host, Gaming Forte. Slow-mo Black Slap will be here momentarily. His mic keeps acting up and not giving him a good old time to do anything. But let me see. I might as well turn, till he gets here. Might as well turn my camera on. Let's see. And we could talk about some of this stuff. We could talk about Naughty Dog, man. I think that was like literally our first topic. Naughty Dog out here. Yeah, Faction 2 is canceled. Naughty Dog came out in a blog post today talking about basically something that we all knew months ago, with the game being canceled and them being working on it for quite some time. And let me see if I can should be able to pull up I had everything set up for the other stream, and now I got to have everything pulled up for this one, but we'll get it together. Let's see, share screen. Let's share an update from Naughty Dog, and we'll share that. And pull this over here. There we go. And we will make it so we are doing this. There we go. So we had an update for Naughty Dog, basically going over what happened with this game. And they basically had this to say. He said, we realize, is that slow? That's not slow. Let me kick him out of here so he can get back in so I can know he's here. We realize many of you have been anticipating news around a project that we've been calling The Last of Us Online. There is no way to say this. We made the incredible, difficult decision to stop development on that game. We know this news will be tough for many, especially our dedicated and Last of Us faction community who have been following our multiplayer ambitions and endeavors. We're equally crushed at the studio as we were looking forward to putting it in your hands. We wanted to share with some background on how we came to this decision. The multiplayer team has been in pre-production with the game since we were working on The Last of Us Part 2. Crafting the experience we felt was unique and had tremendous potential as the multiplayer team iterated on their concepts for The Last of Us Online. During this time, their vision crystallized. The gameplay got more refined and satisfying, and we were enthusiastic about the direction in which we were heading. And wrapping up to full production, the massive scope of our ambition became clear. To release and support The Last of Us Online, we would have to put all of our studio resources behind supporting post-launch content for years to come, severely impacting development on future single-player games. So we had two paths in front of us: become a sole source games as a service, basically live service game studio, or continue to focus on single-player narrative games that have defined Naughty Dog's heritage. We are immensely proud of everyone at the studio that touched this project. The learning and the investment in technology from the game we carry into how we develop our projects and will be invaluable in the direction we are heading as a studio. We have more than one ambitious brand new single player game that we were working on here at Naughty Dog, and we cannot wait to share more about what comes next when we're ready. Until then, we're incredibly thankful to our community for our support throughout the years. All right, Slow-Mo's back. What's up, Slow-Mo?
Yeah, all right, can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you now.
Okay, I also think you need to end the last. Did you end the last stream?
I did end it. I ended it already. I don't know why it's still showing there, but I ended it.
We're just turn off OBS completely.
I did.
Stop.
I literally closed OBS.
Okay.
Literally shut OBS down.
And YouTube Studio, did you end the last stream there too?
I sure did.
All right, just making sure because it's
I sure did.
Weird.
Okay, yeah, it's showing both streams for some reason. I really don't know why, but yeah, it is. But yeah. So you got everything taken care of now?
Yep. Just trying to get a DPS channel back up. But yeah, let's just go ahead. Did you do the whole spiel?
Yeah. I just went over, just read the article, the blog from Naughty Dog talking about, everything that they had to say about that. But like I was telling people, the biggest thing is, so is it really still showing both of them? I don't know why it's showing both of them. But the biggest thing for me, why Slow-Mo's doing that is, this is something everybody should have saw from 3 states away. The game, the game has been kind of an enigma for like 4 years now. Like all we see is concept art, and then the concept art that we did see was very vague. And then the next set of concept art we saw was sitting on top of buildings, just trying to show like the scope of the world and stuff. But there was really nothing else to it. It was like the promise. I guess it was just the potential of what we saw inside of The Last of Us Part 2 when it came to animations and stuff like that, just the gameplay in general. People were really looking forward to seeing what factions could be with that type of development put behind it. But before I let Slummo get into this, the most interesting part of this blog for me is the part where they go off and they're talking about the overall build up for the game and everything, and how proud they were, and how the game was coming together, and you know how the concept in the vision crystallized and the gameplay refined and was super satisfying. They were enthusiastic about the direction they were heading in. And it just seems like that was where they were at. And then Bungie walked through the door and said, this game ain't going to last 3 months.
Which it's interesting that Bungie's out here telling people what's not going to last and giving instructions. But look, the whole thing is unfortunate because it seems like once again decisions are being made, and this is not just a Sony thing. This is like seems to be a industry wide thing where decisions are made by shareholders and not by actual developers listening to what the gamers want. Nobody asked for what they were trying to do with Factions 2. All of it's going to be so grand, and we're going to have like the maps are going to be humongous. And I'm like, I was not someone who was a fan of Factions. I was going to try Factions 2. Factions 1, I didn't care for it. But in speaking to gamers who were fans of Factions, none of them ever talked about any of the things that Naughty Dog said they were trying to implement in Factions 2. And I'm not saying that you can't go off and be innovative or whatever, right? But when back in 2019, when it had to be leaked that you were even separating them out, like the reaction to that should have been noted by them. They should have paid attention to what the reaction was then. Then, as clearly you are struggling to get things off the ground, like you launched The Last of Us Part 2 with no multiplayer. Then you launched The Last of Us Part 1 remake with no multiplayer. Then now you're doing a remaster of The Last of Us Part 2 from 3 years ago, again, with no multiplayer. And all that said, you could have just given people what they asked for. All they wanted was updated maps, new weapons, and the gameplay that you improved upon off the first game to the second game in the same kind of format and design.
Right.
Now, could that be monetized? Probably not. Not to the degree they wanted it to, but not every idea needs to be a games as a service, live service, like cash bomb. Like it's just not how it works. And I understand why they wanted it that way, because you look at if you go to the Matt Piscatella's tweets, his Twitter profile, and you look at every month when he drops the data that he drops, he's now adding also what the monthly active users are for which games have the highest monthly active users on consoles. He also, I think, sometimes talks about what the games that generate the most revenue, but that goes hand in hand with what the games that have the highest monthly active users, because the longer someone plays a game, the less barriers they have up in buying things within the game. So all those games, all of them are live service games that are third party, and they generate a lot of cash. Roblox just got into PlayStation. Remember we talked about that?
Yeah.
How when Roblox is coming to PlayStation, I said that's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
And a lot of people poo-pooed it. So what? It's just Roblox. Who cares? Roblox ever since it showed up on PlayStation, has been in the top 5 of monthly active users on that massive platform that's double the size of Xbox. You act like Roblox ain't a big deal, but I bet you Sony wish they had a Roblox. And that's the problem. The problem and the understanding of why it's a problem, but they're chasing that bag. They want to be a part of that. And I know some people are like, well, why mess up a good thing? You were in your lane. You do the single player, third person perspective, narrative driven games. Like, stay there. Stay in your lane. We like what you do. Keep doing it. And they are still doing that, but they gotta get more. Like, you have to understand in business, it's not about, oh, we had a great month.
Yeah.
It's about how great was your month in comparison to the same month a year ago. Because what it's really about when you have shareholders in play is how much more money am I making? What is your YOY, your year over year? What is your growth there? If you're not growing, you're going to get replaced. And so when you're not growing, you have to find avenues of ways to get more money. And that's where them going into PC comes into play, because that's a market that's untapped for them. That's where they start acquiring and setting up studios to do mobile, because they're not in that arena either. They can't grow any further in the console arena because they're already dominating the console arena. And the console arena isn't growing at the clip that you see these other parts of gaming grow. So they start to branch out. Or when it comes to this case, hey, we could make more money in the console arena, but it's not going to be making the kind of games that we make right now.
Right.
It's going to be making live service games as a service games, which is, I know everyone's like, well, what's the issue? They went after that and it didn't work out. Factions 2 didn't need to be that game. You're making 12 of them. Why are you? And you delayed 6 of them. Factions 2 could have just been what people wanted, and you get your live service attempts from the other stuff. Like, it didn't need to be this way. But I feel bad for the gamers that were big fans of Factions 1. They're not going to get it, and they said in their statement that, like, they're going to take, like, parts of what they had created and may use it further on down the road. Maybe that turns into multiplayer for The Last of Us Part 3. Maybe that turns into maybe some of the content, maybe the level design or stuff like that actually gets implemented in the single player portion of The Last of Us Part 3. But this is dead, and all we ever got from it was concept art. If anything, I am kind of disappointed that I wish I would have saw what it was actually looking like. Maybe one day that gets leaked out, that they actually show what it really looked like. But I think we can kind of put to rest this idea that, like, some of these studios are untouchable, that they can just do anything, whenever, however they want, and be excellent at it. Not everyone is set up that way. And you and I were having this conversation earlier. And when you compare Naughty Dog trying to do something that's not in their lane compared to, say, Respawn maintaining Apex Legends. Because if you look at something that Naughty Dog said here, they said they realized in order for them to do The Last of Us Online, which is Factions 2, in the way that it need to get done, the entire studio would have to be behind it. And They said there's two paths in front of us: become a solely live service game studio or continue to focus on single player. And this is where I kind of feel like,
I don't know what they were thinking this was going to be in the first place.
Well, one, yeah, you should have realized that a long time ago if that's the case. But I disagree, because you look at like what Respawn does, and Respawn is a studio that has made 2 single player, third person perspective Star Wars Jedi games, Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, while also maintaining a live service game in Apex Legends. Now, how do they do that? They have multiple studios that do it. Respawn is not one studio. They literally have 2 massive teams that work on both separately. And that's not how Naughty Dog has ever been ran. If you go back to Jason Schreier's book, Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, came out like, I don't know, maybe like 5-6 years ago. But there's a chapter in there where they talk about, is it The Last of Us or Uncharted 4? I think it was focused on, I think maybe Uncharted 4. But Jason breaks down how the studio was ran. And I don't think they've changed how their format, how they run the studio. They have the bulk of their studio. This is the same way CDPRs, like CD Projekt Red runs their studio too. A lot of big AAA studios run this way, where they have the bulk of their studio working on one game and a skeleton crew working on the next game. So by the time that studio is done with the game and the game goes gold, they push everyone over to work on the other game that's next, that was in pre-production all that time, and then they can just ramp up into production and just keep the ball rolling. That you can't, that's your format of how you run your studio. You can't make some massive endeavor with Factions 2 or The Last of Us Online, however they want to call it, and give it the resources it needs when you are used to just moving all of your people to one project, back and forth for one project. They didn't have the bodies for that. Somebody should have, PlayStation, Sony, leadership, whoever, should have stepped in, looked at what actual studios do when they make different kind of games and emulate that. Look at, and even though the game has not come out yet, so we don't know how successful it will be, but look at Fable with Playground Games. It's not the Forza team making a RPG. They built a whole separate studio to do that. And that's like Playground Games has doubled in size since they started working on Fable. They needed to, because you need people dedicated to that project that is separate from people working on the Forza Horizon project. If you're not doing that, it was destined to fail. So I mean, it is what it is, man. Hopefully they've learned the lesson. But this again, I mean, I hate to say it. No, I love to say I told you so. Bungie,
here we go.
Proven once again, they weren't worth half of what they paid for them. This should have been the very first thing Bungie should have said to them, is that how you are running this doesn't work. But Bungie don't know that themselves, because they don't know how to make their stuff work.
Okay, well, let's okay, hold up now.
Hold on what?
Let's hold on now. No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you with that.
The Destiny community did not abandon them into this year. That's the only difference.
9 years in, you're right.
A loyal community sat through the foolishness that other games never had the opportunity to have. That's not telling me that you know how to do things. It's telling me you were lucky. That doesn't mean you know how to teach other studios how to get it done when you don't know how to do it correctly your damn self.
Well, I won't say that it's not the. See, that's the thing is, when I say Bungie done struck again, it's not that I think they literally did Naughty Dog a favor by telling them the truth. Like, your game, like, okay, so this is the thing. Okay, so, and I want to make a distinction between this because a lot of people, and trust me, today is Dunk on Sony Day because, so everybody was thinking this was going to be this. You got people out there saying, talking about different things about, Blade and Naughty Dog, not Blade and factions and stuff. And shout out to Rodimus with the $5 super chat. He says, speaking of concept art, Forte, which game has better concept art? For Factions 2 or Blade? And that's what I'm talking about. So today is give everybody this. So today is the smoke day. So listen, I am with everybody in the chat that wants to give smoke where smoke is deserved to be given today because it was kind of funny. But the one thing I do want to say, there is a distinction or a difference between what Naughty Dog was doing and what like 343 is doing, because 343 did release a game that came with a multiplayer component. Now they are working just on the multiplayer component now, but that was something that was added into the game. Same thing when you talk about like Respawn, Respawn, they did something completely different. That's kind of more in line with this because they had a secret studio that was working on Apex Legend and nobody knew it was a thing until they announced it. So it was like no one even knew that they had a separate team doing this. So the biggest thing is, for me, Bungie went in and basically did them a favor and said, yo, this game is not going to last more than 3 months. And I think the fact of the matter was, I think they're starting to see what's happening to these live service games now. Like, you see what's happening to Epic. Epic had to downsize and let go 900 people because they had overinflated because of the pandemic, and so many people were playing games that Fortnite was even bigger than it was when it first came, like at all times. So people was playing more and more, but now that people aren't playing the game, like there's still a lot of people playing it, but it's nowhere near what people were playing in 2021, 2022. So they had to downsize. Same thing happened with a lot of these other studios and stuff. Now you're starting to see Bungie going through it because it's more games out there for people to play, and people have a less tolerance for all of these things that happen in live service if you can't keep up with the content drip. And that's what I think Naughty Dog is seeing now. They're seeing like, wait a minute, we really just wanted to make this game and let it be a game that stands on its own. We probably do minimum updates over the course of a couple of years or something like that. They were kind of looking at this like, yeah, this is a bigger thing that we wanted it to be, but we're proud of it, so we want to make it stand alone. I'm good with that. But I think that they didn't realize how much and how hungry a game like that could be. And once they see all these other studios going through it now, they're like, yo, we know we're good at making single player games. I think we'd rather do that because we know we can do that versus fail at doing this. And I think it's just a mismanagement of their overall studios. Because we all said at the beginning, why are you forcing the studios that have nothing to do with any of the type of games that they don't even know how to make? They don't even know how to manage those things. This is something that should have been planned over years. But I think it's just a simple fact that we talked about it before. Xbox, and this is the thing, it is going to have to be an Xbox comparison. Some people are going to hate it, but Xbox started down this road years ago, 4, 5, 6 years ago, when they started talking about the direction they wanted to start going with their games. Now, you can love it or hate the direction they go in with their games. Some people hate that Game Pass is so prevalent. Some people hate the direction that, games like Sea of Thieves went, and the way that Grounded was brought out, and how Halo Infinite. I'm one of those people that hated the way that Halo Infinite came out, but I cannot deny the fact that that game and pretty much most of the games that they have now that did come out under that thing they're stellar games at this point now. Now, should it be that way? No, because I feel like if you release a game, it should be A1 the moment you release it. But Xbox started that process years ago to get kind of used to making games like that and getting people adapting to games like that. PlayStation gamers ain't ready for that. They ain't ready to go out and say, oh, this game's going to be good in a year or 6 months. They're not ready for that. And they're also not ready for a game that they adorably love in Last of Us in factions that, like you said, Slow-Mo, they had 2 extra times to release it. They could have released it during the remaster in 2014. They could have released it when they did the Part 1 remaster. They could have remastered. They could have let it come out when Last of Us Part 2 came out. So they had 3 instances where they could have did it. And if they wanted to, like I said to you earlier, it would have been better to just say, hey, let's release this with Last of Us Part 2, what we have. And let's, like, every time we do a remaster for Last of Us, let that be how you update the game. So we're talking about 2-3 years, you finally do a major patch to factions. And now if you buy the new one, you get all the new stuff that's going to be patched into the game. That's what they should have done. But I think a lot of people are just going to be more upset for the fact that this is just a direction that Sony's been going in, and it's just not good. But the biggest thing is, why do you think they went so hard? Like when they said we were doing 12 live service games 3 years ago, and they said 10 of them was going to be out by 2020.
I already know what your question is. I already got the answer.
Why did they go in that direction so hard?
They made so many because they know that a lot of live service games fail. Even the ones that get a level of success early on may not even last a full year. So they decided, let's just make a whole bunch of them. Throw a whole bunch of live service games against the wall and see what sticks. And they're not it's not like they're all like it's 6 Call of Duty clones, 4 Fortnite clones, and MLB and factions. Like they're all different kinds of live service games, but they wanted to see how they can make it work and what would work. But they didn't really have, like, it's unnecessary to have that many, in my opinion. You don't need that to be supporting that many. If you know what you're doing and you have a great concept, focus in on one, because what's going to end up happening with the other ones is what happened with Epic, right?
Right.
Epic was making a whole bunch of games before Fortnite blew up. And a lot of them were much smaller projects. But guess what happened? As soon as Fortnite blew up, all the other games, whether they were in early access, betas, already launched, just projects that were, they were just announced, just getting off the ground, canceled. All of them. All those teams, all you guys all work on Fortnite now.
Right.
You got season 1, you got season 2, you got season 3, rotate. And that's why Fortnite is the machine that it is right now. And I'm sure that's probably similar to what Sony may have wanted to do, but they want one big hit. They want one game that's going to be top 5, their own game, and monthly active users on their platform. And I think they went a bit overboard in trying to make that happen. Bungie's just not the guy. Bungie's not that kind of studio to teach that. No, like they don't even have enough. Bungie's was 1,200 developers, and even they couldn't keep up with the cadence needed for Destiny.
Right, they couldn't. You're right.
So that your studios are like a third of the size of Bungie, trying to make live service games the way Bungie says to make them, and they can't even keep up with content or keep their community satisfied. Look, here's another live service game that's struggling to keep it together. The Division 2. The Division 2 yesterday had a live stream. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I did hear about it. I haven't watched it, but I heard about it.
Well, let me give you the rundown. Next year, nothing's happening.
Figures.
They said in 2025, we're going to have a huge, massive story expansion like Warlords in New York. ooh, yay, everyone's happy. But in
2025 though, Grand Theft Auto will be out by then.
they can't. They don't have enough resources for this little tiny Ubisoft Budapest, whatever the heck studio they got out there. Ubisoft has got on this while Massive is busy with Avatar. Just dropped Avatar. They got to do Star Wars Outlaws. Then they can actually finally do Division 3. What Ubisoft is hoping is that Division Heartland, the extraction shooter, ties people over until this massive expansion they got going for the Division 2 next year. They're failing at live service.
Mm-hmm.
They had a moment with Division 1 and they lost it. And then they fumbled it on the sequel. And they've been fumbling ever since. That is what it looks like. When you look at the concurrent numbers of Division 2, they're super low. That's what it looks like when you have a failed live service game backed by a massive publisher. But the IP is worth a lot. So you keep trying. You keep trying to do different things with it to try to catch that lightning in the bottle again. But the reason why I bring them up is the difference between Massive Entertainment and Ubisoft with the Division and Bungie with Destiny is that one community left and one community didn't. That's it. They made the same mistakes. They didn't listen to their communities. They pissed their communities off. They failed on content. And look where they are. That's not something that you want to teach to your other developers. And so, I mean, stop beating a dead horse here. Like I think that they're gonna have some hard times with the live service content. Next year, we're supposed to get fair games, and we're supposed to get Concord. We have not seen at least we got teaser trailers for both of them. We never got that from Factions 2. But we haven't seen a millisecond of gameplay from either game that's supposed to come out next year.
Yeah.
we don't even know because they never actually said which of their live service, their 6 live service games they were delayed. We know the Fire Sprite game got canceled. No, I'm sorry. Was it Deviation? Which one? No, which one was it? Was it Fire Sprite's game or Deviation? One of those
Deviation's game.
Yeah, I think it was Deviation's game. Deviation's game got canceled. We don't know which of the live service games that the 6 that they delayed are actually we don't know which ones those are. So we don't know if Fair Games and Concord were in there or not. We know that Marathon was in there because Marathon got delayed to 2025. So, I mean, we'll see what happens, but out of what PlayStation first party is supposed to provide, and I don't want to hear the foolishness of first party don't really matter. I'm like a lot of the people who are saying first party don't really matter we're not coming with that same energy 2 years ago.
Right.
Y'all was speaking a whole different tone. So I don't want to hear that, with third party this, third party that. Those third party games, you can't be assured of the level of quality with those games. Yeah. Because those aren't your studios and you don't manage them. So you're going to get stuff like how they used to go after Xbox gamers last generation, where, you're going to get games like Ori that, second party game, really good games, even though the studio seems to be ran by some toxic D-bags. But but that new game, I forgot the name of it, they showed at the Video Game Awards, looks good too. So you'll have some studios who on their own without you managing it will deliver on content. But then you'll also get the other studios that don't deliver.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to have to, when you're relying on third-party content, to be your exclusive content that makes your platform different than other platforms, instead of relying on your own studios for that, you can't be assured of the level of quality. Now, that said, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I'm fairly certain Rebirth is going to be awesome, and I'm there day freaking one.
Right.
But, so right, yeah. And Grubby Shaman said, yeah, Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 is February, so that's their next. That's the second party game. That's their next published game to drop is Helldivers 2.
It's Helldivers 2.
We'll see how it turns out, right?
Yeah, I'll definitely give it a go. Shout out to Chisel of 420. Division 2 was lit for the first 18 months. I will. It was. I will tell you. I feel like Division as a whole, when it first came out, was amazing. Like the first one, there was issues and stuff, but it was. I truly enjoyed what they did with that game, and
they got it back once they got their content out. What they were cooking. People was like, "Oh, this is it." There's so much about the Division that really, for live service games, was so innovative at the time that other games emulated. And the fact that part of the problem with Division 2 was the Division 2 post-launch content didn't live up to Division 1's post-launch content, nor did they even attempt to even do so. It was just like they just tried to copy other live service games.
That was the issue. I felt like a lot of these live service games have too. They, I get it. Bungie did something great when it came to like the raids and how co-op worked and stuff in that game. I just think too many games tried to duplicate that, and they just did. Like Division was fine the way it was by itself, but then they wanted to, like you said,
they tried to copy Destiny. They tried to copy Destiny.
Yeah, and then they did it
with raids. Yeah, and they got away from doing the incursions. Were like mini raids, but they were shorter, more focused, and I actually enjoy them more than actual Destiny raids because it's less of a time sink. It's less of a you don't need all the coordination that you need in a Destiny raid with people that it's you could just match and make into it. You literally could match and make into it.
Yeah. That was the cool thing about it.
It was not zero coordination, but it was, as long as you had a solid build, you were good to go. And you had underground. Underground was awesome. You had completely randomly generated tunnels every time you go in. Looked and played great. And you had hunters randomly attacking you all the time. It was awesome. And then you had the best thing they did was survival mode, which excellent. And it's like they did none of that with Division 2. These are things that you see from live service games where even when they get some success, it's like it seems like the developers don't know why it was successful.
Yeah.
And then they go in directions that people don't want them to go, and they don't listen to their community when they say, we don't want to play that. We don't like this. You took one dark zone in Division 1 and you made it 3 watered down dark zones in Division 2. We don't want that. You ignore them, they don't play your game. This is the end result of that. They stop playing your game.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, back to factions, it's they're going to stick to single player content now, which is fine. They're very, very good.
Well, that's a good segue to it, because I want to move on for this topic, but I do want to ask you that. Mm-hmm. They said they have multiple brand new IPs, single player IPs in development at the moment. Now that's brand new. What do you think they cooking? What could they possibly be cooking?
The Last of Us Part 3. I don't know what the other ones are, but I don't think it really matters as of now, because we don't know in detail what they mean by we have multiple live service games multiple single player
games
cooking, because It could be one game actually in production,
and the other one in super pre-production.
Another one in pre-production. Another one's a prototype. Like those games are like the one they're working on is probably years off, and the ones that that are nowhere near actually really being worked on, developed, and in production could be even further out. We're talking like next generation.
Yeah.
So it's good that they are getting. All I care about is that you have a solid plan and it works.
Yeah.
Because I would have been fine with them still doing factions too, if the plan was solid and you knew what you were doing and you were all in. But that wasn't the case here. So get all in, nothing but single player content. Maybe you do a multiplayer like you did for Uncharted, 2 and 3 and The Last of Us Part 1. Maybe you add multiplayer to these games, but you're still largely a single player studio. But get back to what you're great at and have a solid plan where everyone's on the same page. And this is them all being on the same page. Great. But it would have been nice if they would have got on the same page and got with the program 4 years ago when people was like, bruh, we didn't want all that. All we want is just some updated maps and new weapons and new visuals in the new engine for The Last of Us Part 2 and that combat.
Right.
Just give us what you gave us before.
Right. Yeah. The last thing is, and they were talking about it in the chat right now, talking about the acquisition being a flop with Bungie. I don't want to go that far to say it's a flop yet, because I think the reason that they wanted to buy them at the moment is definitely not going to be the reason they end up keeping them. But especially with the news coming out from Bungie, the long list of stuff that's been going on at that studio when it comes to people being laid off and stuff, is that they are basically under it's basically a chance that they could actually lose their independence due to the fact that they don't hit certain sales projections and stuff. The way the board is broken up, it's 3 people from Bungie, which comes, I forget, one is Jason Jones, who used to be, it's like the one like the chair. Then you got Pete Parson, which is over the Bungie studio. Then there's another person. Yeah, then there's one other person. Then it's Herbert Holtzman and someone else from Sony that's over it.
You just be making names. Herman Holtz. You said Herman Holtzman.
Oh, I said Holtzman? Yeah, I said Holtzman. Yeah. Yeah, Herman Holtz is one of the other people. So, but it seems like...
It reminds me when you called Alderman.
Yeah, Alderman. I got to think of calling people men at the end. But so, Slow-Mo, I don't think it's a flop, but do we think it's gonna be a situation where Bungie is not gonna basically be independent anymore in the near future?
I think that's an eventual conclusion to things with Bungie, is that they're eventually going to end up losing control to Sony. If you look at like the final shape, and I'm pretty sure they're putting everything they have into that, but they got less people to do that already. And even though they've been given more time, the game has been delayed. You look at like the public sentiment of things. You look at people who at one point were staunch defenders of Bungie and Destiny, saying they're not going to play the final shape. They got an uphill battle to hit, and that I think that expansion next summer really needs to land well. It needs to be considered one of, between Destiny 1 and 2's, one of their best expansions. And we're talking about like up there with the Taken King, Witch Queen, Rise of Iron. Like it needs to be up there, that kind of level of quality. And maybe it will be, but even then it's like it might not be enough, or I think what's telling is that they said that like the layoffs may not be done, and the layoffs that happened were in order to stave off a takeover. So if final shape doesn't work out the way they wanted to work out, it's probably going to be more layoffs. But I anticipate that, like, if it's going to happen, it probably end up being between the final shape launching and marathon launching. That Taz wants to know if you go ever reply to any of your
I just texted him. He said, "Don't text me."
Yeah, you're notorious for looking at people's text messages and not responding.
No, don't do that. That doesn't happen.
That happens to me. It happens to him. It happens to everybody.
It does not. Well, Taz wouldn't know that because he doesn't have Android. He has Android, not Apple. But
I know that because I have Apple.
I know you leave me on red all the time.
You are a liar. That has never happened.
Are you really want to use the word never, Slow-Mo?
Never. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're lucky there's no way to really prove this, so you can definitely get away with using the word never. But let's move on to the next topic, man. We didn't exhaust that dumb topic, and shout out to, go ahead, have fun out there, have your smoke. Guess what? I got some more ammunition for everybody out there that wants to dump on PlayStation this week. Insomniac, they were hacked. Wolverine and employee info is up for ransom.
Let me say this. Like,
go ahead.
I'm not condoning the hacking of gaming data. Like, it's messed up that stuff got out that wasn't intended to be seen. I think what's more messed up is that there's people's personal information out there, like passports, and that's really bad. Like, and that's. I mean, I don't know what's going on with infrastructure and network security with these Sony studios, because they seem to get hacked like on a regular basis, it seems.
Every time Naughty Dog comes out, trust me, we'll know everything about Naughty Dog's new game before they want to tell it to us, because they're going to get hacked. It's just it happens all the time.
It happens every time we've learned anything about, well, except for this time with
factions. Yeah, we never did. You're right.
Yeah, but this is the first time that's the first time they've actually announced something that we didn't know, because usually it's been them making a statement after information has already been put out there against their will. But like with Insomniac, I mean, some information gaming related seems to be that they may potentially be working on a Spider-Verse kind of game, which kind of considering the direction they went with Spider-Man 2, that shouldn't shock anybody.
Right.
There were screenshots from Wolverine that were revealed that, I'm not judging the game,
but I'm judging the game.
No, okay, I'm not judging it because it's not out, right? So it could be freaking epic and amazing, and I have all the confidence in Insomniac. I say that they're PlayStation's best studio all the time. But from what the very limited fuzzy screenshots I saw, I mean, not in motion, so I don't know what the game play like where this game at this stage is playing like. But I would say I expect it differently. Like, from the camera angle that I saw, it looked like it reminded me of the same kind of camera angle from God of War. Yeah. Now, that does not mean it plays like God of War. So we can't go that far. But I'm hoping it don't play like God of War, because Wolverine is not Kratos. Like, he's a beast. And Kratos is a beast, but they fight very differently. And I want like an authentic kind of Wolverine that is like a powder keg that rushes enemies and rips them apart in a way that's different than Kratos in the past two games. Kratos in the past two games can't jump. He dodges and he moves like five feet to the right or to the left. It's like that limited range of movement isn't Wolverine. Like, I need my Wolverine to be flying through the air at people, taking all kinds of damage. I'm thinking of it, and when I thought of when they first showed the teaser trailer, I imagined in my head like your mutant healing factor being like a meter somewhere when it's active, when it's moving, and you're seeing your health go down. Like I'm expecting to see tons of enemies peppering Wolverine with bullets, all kinds of him taking all kinds of damage, seeing that damage like gore coming, like him take the effects of the damage that he's going through, actually seeing it play out on his body, and that you could actually die or lose if you take too much damage, but you're also like berserker rage, you're ripping through enemies. Like, that's Wolverine. And I know I'm saying all this and I didn't see anything in motion, but just the camera angle alone had me wondering what the gameplay actually is like. And I'm just hoping it's not God of War-ish, because I don't think that's Wolverine for me. So I don't know. What are your thoughts, man?
Well, my thoughts are, like, I didn't really pay attention to him until probably yesterday, and I didn't even look at the screenshots. And that's the first thing I thought when you said it. I was like, man, why does this look like God of War? I was like, is this the only way that they know how to make a game? You know, third person, over the shoulder. And I mean, it's nothing wrong with that game, but it's like, I was kind of expecting something different. Not to say it's not going to be good. I think it's going to I think it's going to be great, because Insomniac, at this point, we just give them pretty much the same thing that we do for Naughty Dog. They get super benefit of the doubt, and we just want to see how they're going to go about making and, having this game come out and be the way that we want it to be. It's going to definitely be gruesome as heck. It's going to, it's going to be M-rated most likely. I don't think we're gonna get a Deadpool out here where Deadpool is T instead of M.
right.
Can you remember that? We was like, huh? How'd that happen? But I do think that a lot of people is kind of miffed by it, but I also think people are just tired of this happening to Sony. It's like everything, like our first screenshot or glimpse, and I don't care how blurry it is, our first glimpse of Wolverine should not be in a leak.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be. It's like at a certain point, it's like we're already being. It's a lot of stuff that's already being kind of leaked or put out there before it needs to be out there, and it kind of takes away that sizzle. And we're going to talk about it later. E3 is not here anymore, so we don't have, that's going to be gone. So we don't have that one time of year where we know that we're going to instantly get a bunch of stuff that we want to see and talk about, and we're looking forward to all those games. So now we have to wait for developers to be ready with their games to like kind of show it to us, and all the excitement kind of gets sucked away. Now, granted, I'm still going to be super excited to see what this game's going to be, but the Rockstar, same thing, got hacked and ended up having their trailer out there, and they had to come out and put their trailer out earlier than they wanted to. And at least in their eyes, they were able to still kind of control the narrative, because it was only like a couple, like I think it was like only 30 or 40 minutes that it was out before they put it out themselves. But it's just I'm tired of that kind of happening. That's why I moved all of my information off of Sony's platform. Like, I have nothing on their platform that can tie back to me in any way other than my PlayStation ID that I have on there now. So I mean, at a certain point, we don't even know when the game's coming. Probably 2025 at the earliest, late 2025. And
it's Insomniac. If they say it's going to come out in a particular year, it's going to come
out that year. So that's what all we're basically waiting for at this point. Is
their
for them
development pipeline is solid. You can expect it's going to come out with them. There's certain studios that when they say, "Oh yes, we got a game launching at this time," you just kind of like, okay, cool.
Yeah. So
you feel that way, but that really,
yeah.
But
go ahead.
What I wanted to say is that, like, we gotta remember, I said everything I said about what I expect and how I didn't really like what I saw. But that said, I'm not judging it. I'm not saying that's how it's not going to turn out well or anything. That screenshot could have been literally it's a screenshot. We don't know if the camera was panning at a certain angle at a certain period of time when the screenshot was taken. We don't know how we didn't see actual gameplay to know how it actually plays. I'm just talking about what I would prefer a Wolverine game to play like. And I want to remind everyone about, what was it, a year or two ago, the GTA 6 leak, where we actually saw actual gameplay and people ripped it apart. This looks horrible. This is Rockstar's falling off. And it's like, this was not made for you to see yet.
Man, did you see that trailer they just released though?
Exactly. And look at the trailer now. Everyone that said all that stuff about GTA 6 looks stupid because like when you don't know what they're doing behind the scenes when that footage was recorded. They could have turned all the settings off because they were trying to test something. They could have, and a lot of times in game development, whether people don't know it or not, and I'm not a developer, but I talk to developers, they tell me this stuff. All the bells and whistles and the ray tracing and all the visual effects that we see of the final product is not turned on when they're just developing the game.
True.
It's at the end of development they really start to build on that stuff to really see what they can actually have running, especially on consoles, and then optimize it to work so that it runs at a playable frame rate and everything. All that stuff happens later on the end. Like that's not when GTA 6 was still years away from releasing, because that's not coming out to 2025. Like at the earliest, like you're not going to see all that stuff. So people kind of stop judging, like definitively judging something that they weren't supposed to see. It's just. But it's the internet, so people are going to do that regardless of what you or I may say. So it is what it is.
Well, at least you know. At least you know. All right, let's move over to the next topic. Let's talk about the day before and how much of a scam this game truly was.
Mm-hmm.
and like it might be worse than what was the other game that never actually came out that everybody was, what was it called? That was on the PlayStation Store? I forget the name of that game.
Oh, Abandoned.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, this is worse than Abandoned. Definitely this is worse. Because this actually
worse than that.
They got people. Like no one spent any money on Abandoned. But people spent money on the day before. I think it's estimated anywhere between 200K to 350,000 Steam players bought the game on Steam. So, and that's in 4 days. This was the most wish listed, like it broke the record for the most wish lists on Steam. Only for it to be an asset flip cash grab. Like there's a page out there. It's on Reddit. You can see it through Reddit, where they have cataloged all the assets that's in the game that are basically just free assets you get through the Unreal Engine when you just use Unreal Engine. And a lot of developers, from what I hear, may use stuff like that as like a placeholder. Like, hey, I'll put a basic chair in Unreal Engine in at a table in a kitchen in a room or something, but I plan on replacing that asset with something else later on, but no, they just have everything that's in Unreal Engine. Just it's all there. The game plays nothing like what they showed at their initial reveal trailer. It plays nothing like it. And the initial reveal trailer shows something that was like a mixture of The Division with The Last of Us. And first of all, visually, the game looks nothing like what you're showing right now. I mean, all the screen space reflections and all that, like none of that stuff is present Ain't there a single reflection in that game? It's hideous. And the game, and I don't know if you heard this or not. A recent developer who worked for Fantastic came out and spoke out about the development of the game and said the two founders, who I don't think that's their real name. They got like a very kind of like Russian name, but you look at them and they don't look Russian. They don't look Russian. So I'm looking at them. I'm just like, I don't think that's your real name. And I think there's a reason why you don't want your real name out there, because you're scamming people, but whatever. They said this game was supposed to be a survival MMO.
Mm-hmm.
And the developer was like, we have no idea why they called that in the marketing, because it was never developed like that at all. Like we basically made this game in 2 years. And there was no game like this. We're showing right now isn't a game. This is someone making scripted choices through Unreal Engine and just creating a trailer without actually like an actual game being played. The actual game, when they released this trailer, there was no game. None of the stuff that you see in this is actually in the game. It's crazy. I haven't played it because I knew it was a scam. I knew it was a scam. The moment
it was a scam.
I've just watched gameplay on like streams of other people playing it. I've watched people shoot zombies and then like the zombie react to the gunshot like a second after they got shot. It's disgusting. But like I knew it was a scam. The moment I knew it was a scam was when they said, we're delaying the game 6 months to move it from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5. And I'm like,
that's longer than 6 months.
Yeah. I'm not a developer, but I've seen other developers say they're moving their game to Unreal Engine 5. And see them talk about the process of how they got to put it on Unreal Engine 4.5. And then they had to do a whole bunch. They had to check a lot of stuff and fix a lot of issues. Then going from 4.5 to 5, and they got to fix more issues that pop up and a lot of other problems. You and your team of volunteers
people not getting paid for it,
who not getting paid for it, are not doing that in 6 months. I was like, this is a scam. This is a scam. This is every time they showed the game, it looked worse than the last time, which is not supposed to happen. Usually what's supposed to happen is that every time you show your game, it's supposed to look better.
Right.
Instead, their game looked worse after every time they showed it. And when they had their whole, they were supposed to release. Remember, they were supposed to release earlier this year, and then it was like within a week of when the release was supposed to happen, their Steam page went down. They removed all their trailers off their YouTube channel. They removed all their marketing and everything, and then they said, "We have a copyright trademark issue," and it's like, you telling me you made this game about to launch it and you didn't get the name trademarked? What kind of amateur hour is this? That doesn't make any sense. And so they finally got that sorted out, but a lot of the stuff that they had put out there, like the very first trailer you're showing right now, when they brought all that stuff back up, that trailer was missing. And I think it was because they didn't want people seeing that was the case. By the way, since you're at the end of the trailer here on the Jumbotron, as we call it,
Jumbotron,
and it's showing the website. The website's down too. Like,
you can't even go to it.
When they released that tweet saying they were shutting the studio down, people started going to their website within 5 minutes, the website was down.
Wow. That's
so
wild.
Yeah, it's and what all I hope from this is that people are learn from this experience and not don't allow these developers, because they've already started to try to change their name for some of their older scam games. Their new name is called 8 Points. So like, I hope that people are looking out for them and making sure that like every time they pop their head up with another scam, that people say these are the day before devs, ignore this. And I hope that like it allows gamers to be a bit more cautious with what they see, because this isn't the only game I think that's out there that is out here scamming people with really flashy, nice looking trailers that really aren't games yet. And you know, maybe they intend on actually delivering on what they showed, but even big publishers don't do this kind of stuff no more. And it's for a good reason. Remember Watch Dogs 1?
I do.
Looked amazing. And then what did the final product look like? And
not like that.
Not like that. And they got the smoke for it. And the reason why Ubisoft doesn't do that no more is because when you get into development and then you realize certain concepts that you had in pre-production aren't going to work.
Yeah.
But it looks bad on you when you have already shown the game and showed those concepts in a concept trailer that wasn't really running on anything. It wasn't those systems that's supposed to be running in a game engine, running the game aren't really there. Is that now you pull that stuff out and people get upset because for some people, what you pulled out was something that really sold them on why they wanted the game. And so this is why you don't show stuff like this from the very beginning, especially when you don't have an actual game there that to actually do. So look, I saw a statement from their Twitter account, which I'm surprised is still active today, saying that if you want a refund, Valve has for this particular game chosen to not do the typical 2 hour.
Because people were getting refunds 20 hours in.
Right. And if you want a refund, you'll get a refund, which, you know, is great. But like, I think they got their money. Like I've been seeing some investigative reporting going on from some of the gaming media that seems to rarely do investigative reporting, but they're finding, you know, business accounts from the founders and the company and like Singapore and stuff like that. And things they're saying they ain't got no money. The publisher took all the money, the very little that was there, but it seems like, you know, their accounts showing a very different story. So, you know, it's estimated they made about 13 million in 4 days. And so I think they faced with fixing the game, that the game was getting overwhelmingly negative reviews. They said, we could take our money and run, or we could try to reinvest this money into actually making a game that we marketed to everyone. And they chose the former.
They chose the former. Like, we out of here.
Right.
We out of here. No, this is terrible. But guess what? They're gonna get some money off of it, because guess what? They said what it was like 100. It's like 200,000 people, 250,000 people bought the game, and I think it's even if half of those people, like even to say 100,000 people don't get refunds, that's a lot of money that they get to keep. Now, let's just hope that Steam sees what's going on, because they know what's going on. Let's just hope they like withhold funds and just go ahead and just reimburse people just for buying the game in general. They know if you bought the game, they just take it out of your account for this being the way that it is, especially with all this stuff being said. I don't have any hope of that really happening. But the fact that this game. Like, I was gonna ask you, like, what's worse, Watch Dogs reveal or this, but I'm gonna say at least Watch Dogs was a game at the end of the day. It
Right.
may have been just as egregious in what you saw at the beginning versus what you saw at the end, but at least it ended up being something. At least you had a reason to complain that you waited all this time to play a game that ended up not looking like the game that you thought it was going to be, and there was actually a game there. So this is just far worse. The biggest thing is, why do you think this is just a ramp up of things happening just due to the fact that there's so much money into gaming now that, gamers, I mean, not saying they're naive or anything, but it's just like everything else. It's like when you could be scammed for anything. And most gamers that play, a lot of gamers that play games are of the age where they don't know anything about any of this. They don't know exactly what, they just see a game, they think it looks cool, they buy it.
Yeah.
So
if
you think
anything,
that's why
it
you
makes
seeing
me
this?
feel like we think the hardcore gaming community is bigger than it actually is. Like, a lot of people saw the red flags with this game from a mile away and was like, I'm not gonna buy that. And a lot of the people who within this hardcore community who did buy it did it for content creation purposes, because they wanted to, play the game live for their channels or for Twitch or YouTube or Kick or whatever, to show how much of a train wreck it is. But that's not the 350K of people. The vast majority of people were really hyped for this game off of what they saw with the trailer and never caught on to the things that F-Tastic was getting exposed for all throughout this process. And it just kind of goes to show that, like, the gaming community is way bigger than people seem to acknowledge it is. We saw people trying to boycott games, and those games end up selling like to be the best sold games of the year. It happens every time. So it's unfortunate that, a lot of people got scammed. But like I said, all we can do is hope that people know better in the future.
What are you and Erodimus in there arguing about 800-pound Wolverine?
Erodimus is out here, I don't know, just showing his lack of understanding about anything Wolverine related. Like, Wolverine's a tank, and I'm like, not how. No,
I just saw it. I was like, what are y'all doing? All right, man. Well, that game's a scam. Hopefully you got your money back if that happened to you. But hopefully nobody in this chat fell for that. I saw that game and I was like, instantly no.
Capono says was wondering why Steam didn't do anything about this, and I would say more than likely it's because it's the most wish listed game.
That's a lot of money for them.
Right. They probably thought, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they can deliver on it. We make some money. We get 30% of that cut.
It's crazy that the most wish listed game was a scam.
Now they took the game.
Did they take it down?
They did take it. Yeah. So they took the Steam page is still up, but they did not, like, the moment they announced the closure of the studio, Steam stopped allowing people to buy the game, which is good. It's good that they because at that point it's almost false advertisement. The game was in early access, which is also kind of contradicts them saying, "Oh, we never took, all throughout the development of this game, we never took people's money. We didn't take pre-orders." People calling us a scam. This is all their defense about being a scam. But technically, when you're early access, you are taking people's money because you haven't actually hit full release yet. And I think the whole early access thing was there. Sometimes we see this with games where they release in early access or in beta, and they never have ever any intention of coming out of beta. But yeah, they're just it's crazy. It's crazy how obvious of a scam they are. But
Yeah, it's kind of crazy when you said the Steam reviews overwhelmingly negative.
Yes, yeah, because it's a terrible game.
Oh my god, yeah. Just look at the Jesus. People are still playing it. Okay, but whoa. Okay, let's talk.
There's a few people that enjoy it. I've seen.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it.
I don't know about their taste in games, but it's what
You don't believe they're tasting games, man. Don't be doing that to them, man.
Hey, look, if you like it, I love it. All right.
Don't be doing that. All right, let's talk about Marvel's Blade, Vegas exclusivity, Xbox out here just dropping trailers, not telling anybody anything. This is all stemming from the Game Awards. Now we talked about our thoughts on Blade a little bit last week. We really didn't put that much time into it due to the fact that it was literally during the part of a long, drawn out live stream with the VGAs and singing and telling people to move on and wrap it up. It's just a long day. But a lot of stuff that's come out since then is the fact that, Xbox, hasn't really talked about the exclusivity of the game. They have recently thrown the game up on the official Xbox channel on YouTube. So a lot of people are thinking like, see, there it is, Xbox exclusivity. I'm like, yeah, that still doesn't say anything different about that trailer. The only thing they did was add an in and an outro for the Xbox logo, and it basically confirms that it's coming to Xbox, which we kind of already knew because it is an Xbox studio making it. But I think in general, like for me, I think the game's going to be exclusive. But why do you think Xbox isn't talking about it?
I know it is exclusive.
I know it's exclusive too, but why?
I
is
ain't gonna
Xbox
talk about
not
how I know it's exclusive.
right? Yeah, we can't. Yeah, we can't talk about that.
No, it's exclusive.
Why isn't Xbox talking about it though?
I'm not dealing with the hypotheticals or something I already know. I'm not entertaining the tomfoolery.
Okay,
why didn't they just say it was exclusive?
So we need to just off of what we I'll frame it another way. From what we know and from what we heard and the person we hear this stuff from, we believe 100% this game is exclusive.
We're not even talking about that. No mention of what we heard from anyone from anything. We're not mentioning that. Okay.
No. Okay. Yep. But we know that it's exclusive.
It's exclusive.
Why didn't Xbox mention it though? Why do you think? Because we can only speculate on that. It's weird.
Maybe hypothetically, okay. Hypothetically speaking, maybe there's some things that aren't all
finalized.
Yes, finalized. And so maybe they wanted to capitalize on like Blade's 50th anniversary or whatever. They want to capitalize on the biggest stage in gaming, which is the Video Game Awards. Last year it had 113 million people watching it. I don't know how many people watched it this year, but probably somewhere in the same time frame, right? I mean, not time frame, but like the number of people. That's the perfect time to show you have an exclusive superhero. And maybe you don't want to wait until a year later. What are you doing?
I was drinking water. Sorry.
Oh, okay, because all I hear is ice.
I was drinking water. That's what it was. Sorry.
Maybe they didn't want to wait until a time period where they can actually just say everything. It's exclusive. We here's a release year. We think it's coming out, maybe like 2026, 2027. Hey, boom, like it's there. Maybe they couldn't say that definitively quite yet, and then some things changed, and then they got egg on their face, So just know it's exclusive, okay? And I see it all the time. People are just like, oh, if it was really exclusive, they wouldn't have done this, they would have did that. And I'm just like, no, you're just guessing, bro. You're just guessing, and you don't know for certain. But it's exclusive. Just understand that and just move on. Now every platform has their exclusive superhero. Xbox has Blade. Sony has PlayStation has Wolverine and Spider-Man, and Nintendo has Marvel Ultimate Alliance,
which is more superheroes than anybody else.
Which is all the superheroes, you know.
Which is all the superheroes. They finally got Spider-Man over there,
right? So that's all I gotta say. I think the whole conversation is just. I find a more compelling conversation is, can Arcane Leon really make this kind of game? Because it's third person perspective, and it's a third person perspective game. They haven't done that before.
I know, so they usually do first person.
All their games
are first person, yeah.
And people discussing the art direction, which I respect people's opinion. They don't like the art direction. That's fine. I'm fine with it, especially if it ends up looking very, very close to how the teaser trailer looked. And I've seen people complain about the concept art, which I think the concept art look cool. Look, it's a stylized look. And if you look at what Arcane Leon has done in the past, their art direction has always been a very Dishonored has a very watercolor kind of look to it. But yeah, I think find that stuff more of a compelling conversation, and then dispelling the whole, the people who are calling it Blade Fall because of Redfall.
Fall.
And it's like, you either not paying attention or you just intentionally trolling, because there's two different studios here. There's Arcane Austin, and then there is Arcane Leon. But it is relevant, because look, even Naughty Dog couldn't do something that's out of their wheelhouse. Can Arcane Leon do a third person perspective action adventure, mature rated, gory Blade game? Because I'll tell you, for what I want, I don't want Blade hiding in the shadows and immersive sim kind of. Bump all that. No, I want Blade I want Wesley Snipes kind of Blade. And I know artistic freedom.
That's what a lot of people want.
I think that's the majority of what people want. Blade before Wesley Snipes, nobody was checking for Blade in the comics. He didn't even have it. I don't know. I know his own solo book came out in 98, but I can't remember when Blade came out. I'll look it up when the Blade movie came out, because I thought he was kind of corny in his own comment. and I think that same year, 98. Look, I kind of feel like Wesley Snipes did a lot for the character to build it up, and we've seen it before where Marvel Comics has taken from movies, depictions from movies, and reinvented some characters in some ways. So I like that Wesley Snipes depiction. I like a Blade that is ripping vampires apart. Even then, the very first iteration of Blade in the comics, he didn't even have all these powers. He didn't have all the powers of a vampire. He was just immune to the bite to be turned into one. But they reinvented him and made him better. They gave him all the powers of a vampire, except he didn't have their weaknesses. And that's the Blade I want. Now, is Arcane Leon going to do that? I don't know. And I don't want to pigeonhole them into you have to do it the way that Slow-Mo wants it done.
Right.
But at the same time, I feel like how I want the game done, outside the art direction, there's some people who want photorealism, and I don't think that's necessary. But what I think has to happen is this action, the gameplay, the combat has to be more up-tempo aggression than what Arcane Leon has done in the past. Like, I don't want their typical Arcane Leon kind of game. It's just with Blade in this third-person perspective. Like, I think that's not going to work. What are your thoughts?
I think in general, it ultimately comes back to, I do have, I'm not going to say, because I don't have concerns. It's just more of, is this going to be something that they actually can do? Like you said, Dishonored, Deathloop, completely different types of games. This game is more of a, it seems like it's going to be more of a fast-paced game, because that's kind of how Blade is, like very fast, agile, moving around, never really in the same place. I think that story is going to be something that's going to be very, very prevalent in the game. And it's got to be. And I think they're going to knock that out the park, because I do think when it comes to the way that they tell stories, like especially in Dishonor, it was really, really good. But it also is going to come back to, even knowing this is Leon making this game, a lot of people are still going to be thinking Arcane. And I had this argument with somebody. Well, I go say argument, conversation with somebody online the other day. A lot of people don't know that all these studios have separate teams and stuff. Like, there isn't just one Arcane. There's Arcane Austin, Leon. Austin is the one that just happened to do Redfall, so it's not the same studio. But this studio is going to have to deal with the ramifications of what happened with Redfall, because it's still Arcane. And when people hear Arcane, they're gonna be like, "Ugh, the studio that made Redfall." Yeah. So,
but all that said, what the public sentiment doesn't change what the game actually will be. Let everyone think that this is like, it's going to be garbage because Redfall was garbage, and it comes out. It doesn't matter what people think based upon what another studio in a completely different country did. It's going to be about what they're doing right now, and that's where I'm like, I understand. I respect other people's opinions on what they see. I don't respect that opinion, because that opinion is not founded in any facts whatsoever. I don't even like immersive sim games. I have never liked any Arcane's games, because they don't fit the kind of games I like. Right. You know, I don't like playing stealth, and I don't feel like even though you cannot play stealth in like Dishonored 2, I didn't like how it played when you're not trying to play the stealthy kind of way. And so, all that said, I still respect them as a quality developer, because the people who like that kind of gameplay like their gameplay. I just see it as that shouldn't be Blade. Like, in my head canon of what a Blade game would be like, there's a day and night cycle, and during the day he's stalking familiars to try to find the vampires, and his investigations during the day is leading him to being able to like take out their nests at night.
Right.
The enemies that you fight are different and vary depending on the day and night cycle, because of course vampires aren't out during the day, so the familiars are, and you're gonna have to fight them. You know, like you see it in like Blade movies where they'll have like dudes outfitted in gear, armor, and automatic weapons,
Kevlar and stuff. Yeah.
Familiars who are like Norman Reedus in Blade 2, who was a familiar, but he was, you know, a traitor in the background, you know, working with Blade. In one of the other Blade, I think it was Blade 3, one of them was a lawyer, stuff like that.
Like, was a lawyer,
yeah. So like you will run into them as you're going about your day, but at night you're hunting vampires, and I think the gear should change up on that, because all of Blade's gear is like, he's a sword that's made out of silver. He's got knives that are made out of silver. He's got a garrote, a wire that's laced with silver. All this stuff is to affect vampires specifically. But if you're also fighting familiars, none of that stuff is going to like. And so you as the player should be like having to worry about my silver ammo for my guns and my regular ammo for the regular humans I gotta deal with too. Like all of this should be making it so it's more action focused, like different stances. Blade can fight hand to hand with weapons, with guns, whatever. He can do it all. And I think all of that, and plus all of the tools that he brings to play, he ain't Batman, but he brings a lot of different gadgets to play, should all be about something that is more keen. I'm not saying it has to be like Devil May Cry, but it should be leaning more towards the Devil May Cry than towards a Dishonored.
I really want, I think the one thing I really want them to do is lean into the Daywalker side of it. I want them to lean not heavily into it, but the fact that you can kind of have a Dying Light scenario where during the day you're dealing with, like you said, a lot of the familiars and stuff like that. You're trying to find the corruption that the vampires have inside of society during the day, but then you're also dealing with the main threat, which is the vampires at night. So I think that is a really good way, because he's like the only person that can do both, walk in the day and walk at the night. So I think you can have two contrasting different types of games depending on what time of day it is. And I think they could really lean into something like that. I think that's like one of the best parts of Dying Light that they really bring, where the difficulty and the overall rush of the game picks up significantly when you're at night, because that's when most of the threat is, compared to the daytime where you're dealing with the human species and just the people that are doing the biddings of the vampires while they're sleeping. And they're out and about, why they're out and about doing all the work for those people. So those are things that I think they can really, really tie into. And I think that's what a lot of people want to see. In general, I'm super excited because this is a really good get for them. Like Enrique just said in the chat, he doesn't know why. We did speak on it. It could be for a myriad of different reasons. It is a good get for them. Don't know why they haven't come out and said it themselves exactly what's going on with this game. But I'm super excited to see where it does go. And everybody, like you said, everybody has a Marvel game now. Now it just comes down to Arcane putting the best foot forward and doing something with it that's going to make this not be the only.
Hey, it could very well be that like the FTC is still the case is
could
still.
be.
Look, they closed the ABK deal, but like in the FTC hearings, they kept bringing up like how Bethesda games that were being announced were being exclusive to Xbox, and so they could very well be like, hey, we don't need to. We maybe we can't speak on it at the moment. True. And we don't need to. We don't need to speak on it until, it ain't like it's coming out tomorrow.
Ready to release until we get ready to, until we're ready to show an actual gameplay of the trailer.
Right. We can talk about the platforms it's going to be on, especially if like say it's like we don't know when development has started, or if it's been just like in the pre-production phase for a year or two or whatever. But like if in the average AAA game, which this will be, is like between 4 to 6 years, right? If this game ain't coming out 4 years from now, is 2027. What was supposed to drop in 2027? New hardware, a new Xbox.
Hardware. Yep.
So if it's not coming out until like your next hardware, like, do you even need to bring up platforms? Because really, you could mention PC, obviously. And you can mention if it comes out in 2027, obviously it's going to be a cross-gen game.
Right.
So you can mention your Xbox Series X and S, which honestly, at that point, I think they should drop the S if it's 2027. Like, come on now. Like, hey, you want to play this game, you better play it through cloud. But no,
drop the S. They should have drop the S.
Right.
Let that thing die.
But you're probably going to be really marketing this towards a brand new Xbox that doesn't have a name yet. Doesn't even have its specs like solidified yet. You don't need to say anything about the play. The people who care about this the most right now are console warriors.
Absolutely.
They wanna brag about, look what we got, look what you're not getting. But the guarantee that you have on, can I play Blade when it come out, is if you buy an Xbox, bro, or build a PC or buy a pre-built PC. You're guaranteed to play it then.
Yeah, that's true.
and I mean, look, it's a teaser trailer, so we don't even know what it looks like. So you can see what it looks like, the final say of it and everything, and be like, I don't like that. I don't like the way that looks, so I'm good. And that's fine. You know, that's how it ends up looking, then it's not for you. But like all this back and forth and all of this debating, I think it's pointless, because you know where it's coming. You already know where it's coming from the very start. Plus, I know where it's going to be. But regardless of that, yeah, I just realize what it is. What it is
it is what it is.
You're not getting this unless you have an Xbox or PC. Like, it's what it is.
Slow, like, man, you being messy right now.
Accept it and go spend $150 at Costco right now on the Xbox Series S.
Hey man, Xboxes are $399 if you go on your dashboard for Xbox right now. They're $399 for a Series X.
$150 for an Xbox. Just buy an Xbox, or
do
the right thing and build yourself a PC.
Well, Slow-mo, they don't want to buy an Xbox because they feel like Xbox ain't got no games, and
they got this game. They got this. They got one. They got one game you want, apparently.
What? Hey, wait. This is the funny thing. Xbox is up a game. PlayStation's down a game. Oh man, not like this.
Yeah, for now,
for now,
how these things turn out, but
yeah, man, it's crazy.
I try to straddle the line between what I hope the game is and being open-minded enough when the game comes out to try what Arcane Leon actually delivers. So
right,
I don't want to, because sometimes I get like, oh, it should be like this and that and whatever, and then like it comes out and it's not what I wanted, and I get kind of like I convinced myself it was something that it was never going to be.
Right.
And then, like, because my head canon was better to me than what the final product is, I unfairly treat that game, or sometimes movie or whatever, right? Like, unfairly, I don't give it a fair shake. So I'm trying my best to kind of just like be open-minded with Arcane Leon, but I do think very truly that combat-wise, I think, forget the art style. Like, if as long as it's executed well, no one's going to care. If it's look, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse, completely different kind of animation than any other animation out there. But did anyone care? It looked amazing. So as long as it looks amazing, no one's going to really truly care about the art style and the art direction. What has to be good is the combat and the gameplay. That has to deliver. And so that's all I really care about. Is if it feels like Blade, I'm there day one.
But you already know people are going to talk down on it because of the art style that Arcane does use.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So, we're just prepared for that, but it is what it is on that. Sir, let's move over to the final topic. Last topic of the day, and shout out to we have 50 plus people here. I appreciate everybody coming through after the technical difficulties we had earlier in the show. But for our final topic, we're going to talk about E3 being gone forever. Like we knew this was happening last year when they canceled E3, and we don't want to beat a dead horse because the horse has been dead for quite some time now. Ever since COVID hit, it's pretty much been there. But I want to ask you, Slow-mo, and I'll chime in on it as well. What is it that you're going to miss about E3 the most? And what do you think do you think we're going to still be in the same kind of, run-of-the-mill circle that we're in now when it comes to game announcements and just waiting and everybody just doing things separately? Or do you think somebody else is going to take up the mantle and try to do something like E3? I know Summer Games Fest is kind of the closest thing we have to that. Do we think that's going to get bigger? But first, like, what did E3 mean to you, man? Like, what are you going to miss about it the most?
I'm gonna miss getting all the biggest announcements of the year all in a week. Yes. That's the biggest thing I'm gonna miss. Now it's so spread out. And the first time we really saw this when the pandemic started in 2020, and we saw that stare down contest between Microsoft and Sony when they didn't want to release what the price was of their consoles. It was just like, bro, come on. Can one of y'all just blink, please? It went all the way to like September, October before they finally said, okay, look, we're worth $500. Okay, yeah. Good, we're $500 too. Woo. You know, it was like, and I know what it was like. If one of them would have went higher, the other one probably would have went higher with them. But if E3 had happened, we would have got that information in June. But instead, it was just this whole like annoying thing that went on for months after that. All of the big announcements took all summer to happen, and it was just like it's this to get all this stuff piecemeal when I was used to getting it all at once. It's frustrating.
Right.
I'm used to it now because we're now 3 years into this post E3, kind of, gaming industry where you'll get announcements at any given time, which, we said for years this was going to happen. Even before the pandemic, we was like, eventually, because E3 is now evolving with the times, they're going to end up losing. Like what happened with the pandemic all they did was just hasten the end of E3 that was always going to come. The ESA was too dysfunctional and too completely like just not in tune with what gamers wanted or the publishers, because before all this, Sony and EA had pulled out.
Right.
It was always going to go in this direction, but what I'm going to miss is actually being able to have on one day the Nintendo show, and then the Microsoft show, and then the next day the Sony show, and I got all the information, all the biggest games coming out, all that stuff, all in like a 3-day period. And then for the rest of the week, there are people who are there looking at all the indie games that are going to be like the dark horse games to come out that year. And I can I like my indie games. So for me, that was almost as exciting as the actual conferences themselves. But
right.
Your question about I don't like the way Jeff Keighley does his shows.
I don't either at all.
Especially the Summer Game. I think the Summer Game Fest is the Summer Snore Fest. It's boring. And like I think he keeps all of his best like reveals for the Video Game Awards at the end of the year. So it's just like, I mean, half of his shows are like people showing up with concept art, like fashions too.
Right.
His big thing, his one more thing at his Summer Game Fest of 2022 was showing concept art of factions. And I'm just like, a game that ended up not ever coming out. Like when all your reveals are some developer coming up on stage showing a teaser trailer that does not represent gameplay, or a concept art of a game that they just started to even have the idea of, that's not worth this. That's not worth me having to sit through some old 90s rock band that can barely play their instruments anymore and Jeff Keighley running his mouth. It's just not. And I think the problem, Jeff Keighley introduced a alternative to what E3 was.
Yeah.
And that was great. Now we need an alternative to what Jeff Keighley's shows are, and we don't know who that is.
But we don't have anybody of note to be even able to take up that mantle right now.
Right. Something has to give. It has to be there needs to be something introduced, because Jeff Keighley can't be the only game that's in town for this kind of stuff. And I know also you're going to get, like, eventually there'll be another PlayStation showcase at some point. We'll get, like, I'm thinking more than likely we'll probably get another Xbox Developer Direct next month.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, they're consistent with their June showcase at the same date and time that they normally would have done it for E3. And Nintendo always does their Nintendo Directs, you know, whenever they got content they're ready to show. So we'll continue to get those throughout the year. But we need I mean, Gamescom is fine in August, but we need more than that. We need something that can deliver in a way that E3 did.
Right.
Because just relying on Keighley ain't it for me.
Said relying on Keighley ain't it. Listen, Keighley has a lot to live up to with E3 not being there anymore. I think it ultimately comes back to why you started watching E3. I think a lot, you know, and the funny thing is a lot of that has changed for people just due to the fact that it seems like it's more of a marketing show than an actual showcase of, especially if you're talking about like the Game Awards and stuff like that. You know, it's not even, they put out the stats where you said it. I think it was what was it, 10 minutes for people to go up and accept their rewards versus an hour and 40 minutes worth of ads.
Yeah.
That's retarded. I mean, you know, that's ridiculous. But and then you think about how he's gonna, like, if he's doing that during the Game Awards, what's gonna happen during during his Summer Games Fest, where he's the only show in town when it comes to like talking about new releases and stuff like that, or people bringing games to his showcase to do that. It's
gonna be further in that direction.
It's gonna be further in that direction.
I mean, everyone knew E3 was dead. They just finally initially said, "Hey, we finally pulled the plug on it." It's been on life support for 2 years now. But like what we saw, where, you know, his buddy Kojima gets like 10 minutes to tell us about a game that might not be a game, but he's doing it with Jordan Peele, so cool. But it's just people yelling at a screen and them using MetaHuman, which, like, I mean, like, what am I looking at? What is this? And him up there speaking in Japanese, and then we gotta wait for the translator to translate what he said, which is essentially, we still don't know what the heck this is. And just answering one question took longer than Sam Lake got to receive their an award they won and give an acceptance speech. Right. We got developers from Larry and wanting to dedicate their win for one of their awards to a developer on their team that died, and you got the audacity to turn the music on them. Just straight disrespectful. And these are the people. These are the foundation of the gaming industry. Like, and I know there are people like, oh, we come here for the reveals. So what? Well, they give us more ads than the actual announcement of the awards. You ain't come here for the ads. True. But they're still there. True. So I get I have fine with me. It should be fine with me saying we should be giving them more time to announce this. Announcing best RPG the way you're just listing, hey, and then best RPG is this game, and then like, that's best RPG, bro. You announced it like it was the esports nominee, and I'm like, that's fine for esports. Put them all together and get them all up out of here. But for best RPG, best action game, best narrative, allow these people who put the work in to actually walk up on stage, accept their reward in front of their peers, and give them their due. Give them at least a minute instead of 30 seconds. It's the whole thing. And I look, it's pandering to Hollywood at the highest order. Like, because you got if it's not Keeley doing a round robin of announcements, it's some Hollywood actor showing up pretending like they actually know anything about video games,
right?
With cringe, jokes that they're reading off a teleprompter, and they're there to promote their TV show that's gaming related, or they're there to announce a game. Like, why can't we get like the actual people who made games to make these announcements? People that we know.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, you got Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond sitting on the front row. Bring one of them up to do it. You had Mark Cerny in the audience. Bring Mark Cerny up. We got developers that they're not superstars, but they're well known to us hardcore gamers who are watching your show. And when you got over 100 million people watching it live, and the post show is being discussed, the recap of the post show is being discussed by Entertainment Weekly and all kinds of big mainstream media outlets, you're doing more for the actual video game industry by putting the people of the video game industry on display, so that other people, other casual gamers, can know who they are and then check into the games that they make, not just the games that are being nominated. Then bringing out freaking Charlemagne, I call him Charlemagne.
Charlemagne.
Timothy Champagne or Shakamo, whatever he is, so I can hear about how he had a YouTube channel 5 million years ago where he modded 360 controllers.
Oh man!
But meanwhile, really is like, hey, go see Dune. Which, Dune's awesome, but
not like
Dune next year. It's just like, bro, this guy announced the game of the year. Can you get like, I don't know, maybe bring out someone who won game of the year before, like the guy that runs the studio that made It Takes Two.
Oh, what is his name? Forget his
After
name.
Oscars guy, bring him out to do the announcement. Bring out a former game of the year, like a director for a former game of the year winner. Bring out like the number. Okay, so like they had 6 nominees. Bring out the number 7, like the honorable mention of the game of the year that didn't get nominated, but give their game a little bit of publicity,
right,
for being close. It's just it's not going to change or get better until they have some competition. The PlayStation blog today, I don't know if you saw it or not, the PlayStation blog today had a little vote for their own nominations for a video game award.
I saw they said it opened early today.
Yeah, and I'm looking at that and I'm like, I mean, like, clearly they're paying attention here. They had what we talked about, what they need to do, a best expansion award, and they actually had Cyberpunk in there. Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty. That's where Phantom Liberty should have been, not nominated for best ongoing game, not being shoehorned into awards that it has no business being in. So
I thought it was a good.
We need more competition.
I thought that was a good thing. I didn't look at it, but I saw when they it got shared on Twitter and stuff that they were doing that. I was like, oh, that's actually a really good idea. Especially with the size of their platform, they'll get a really good glimpse of what the people on their platform think of the games that were on there. So that was a really good idea. But I just ultimately it just comes back to, for me, E3. My favorite E3 2006. Halo, seeing it for the first time. Well, not for the first time, but seeing. Actually, it wasn't even 2007. It was 2003 because Halo 2 came out 2004.
You mean when the
one where
for Halo 2 and the guy out the ghost?
That was Halo 3. That was Halo 3. That was 2006. 2000. Oh no, that was 2007.
That was Halo 2.
It was Halo. That was Halo 2. Yeah.
That was Halo 2.
Which one was it? Well, they showed it. Oh, that's right. They showed it twice. So the 2003 was like my favorite because it was the first time you saw Halo in 3, like in HD, because they showed Master Chief walking to that's with the bomb and everything, going out of the airlock and everything. You got to see the lighting. It was like all cool. It was like all Doom effect and stuff. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. And then he took the bomb down to the Covenant cruiser. That was cool. I watched that trailer so many times. And then, yes, the next year when they showed the trailer leading into Halo 2 where he kicked the dude off of the I was like, oh Lord, and he kicked the dude off of the ghost. That was epic. Then they showed the bubble shield for Halo 3 during E3 where he threw the bubble shield down, and I was like, yo, this is so cool. So like, and people realize like some of my best moments in E3 has something to do with Halo. The first time he dual wield was at E3 when he had the two pistols. He threw, can you stick it? And he said, you're on, and then he threw the plasma grenade. Oh, that's what E3 was back then. Like, you literally, it's so crazy because you literally counted down to the next year till you got to see something else for a game like that. Like, there was, like, the internet was really not a thing.
Yeah.
You literally
had to see it there.
You had to see it there.
That was coming, yeah.
So that's what it meant to me. It was like, you know, people used to think about it. People used to take vacation during E3 week because it was always Sunday was EA, Monday was PlayStation. No, Sunday was Xbox in EA. Monday was always PlayStation at 9:00 at whatever theater they were doing it at. Nintendo was always on Tuesday, followed up by the PC Game Awards show, and
which
then
always sucked.
And then you had Ubisoft and stuff that was on 6:00 on Mondays, and then you had all these other studios that would do things. Call of Duty was always at Xbox's showcase during the early parts, and it ended up at PlayStation showcase later on. So it was like you got so much of that. Like, I can't even go against what you said because it's like the information was plentiful that week. It was like from Sunday to Thursday, you found out everything you needed to find out. When E3 came out, and what was the name of it? Rise of the Tomb Raider came out, and they said it was exclusive to Xbox. Oh, we found out. Think about it. That got announced on Sunday, Slow-Mo, and by Tuesday, we knew that it was a year exclusivity and all this other stuff. It was like we found out so much stuff about that one game in 2 days.
Yeah.
That just imagine what happens now when the media isn't like there to like kind of hammer on them, because it's easy to kind of turn off the internet and not pay attention to what people are asking you. Like we're saying, like right now, think about it. Blade being not having exclusivity, this wouldn't go down at E3. They will be getting asked so many people will be being asked so many questions about this game. We would know if this game was exclusive. Well, everybody would know this game was exclusive or not.
A definitive statement would have slipped from somebody, and it would have been, this is what, some media outlet would have,
they would have dropped the beans on it.
Yeah.
So that's the thing I missed the most. That's what I missed the most, the clarity that E3 brought. But
yeah, I can see
I ain't gonna lie, getting information throughout the year is kind of great. I think we're kind of spoiled by it at this point, but I also think that developers need to do a better job of scheduling their events to like let people know what the future kind of holds for them. It seems like
we will now that E3 is officially gone. There is no kind of, because a lot of these publishers were on the board for the ESA. So they had to kind of like, you're on the board, so you don't want to just outright say, hey, look, man, this is for the birds. I'm not doing this.
Right.
Giving y'all millions of dollars to do something I can do on my own without you and get the same number of eyes on it at this point. Like, that's ridiculous. But they would still do, like, even the last time E3 did a thing, and like a lot of those publishers were trying to throw something together at the last minute. Just to have something for it, and it was all terrible. Like, I last year did they do E3 last year? They canceled it, right?
They canceled it last year.
Yeah, but like the shows that they end up going on were just like, it's like they were only doing it because they normally would do a show around that time period. But I remember
like Xbox did theirs on that Sunday.
But Xbox had always intended on doing it, regardless of whether E3 was going to happen or not. Some of these other shows, clearly you can tell, were thrown together last minute, and they weren't good. Like, they have a 15-minute show, and it only really showed one game that anyone cared about. Like, what the heck is that? So it's just like, that's not what people want to see. And now that there is no E3, now I think that like you'll see Ubisoft with the Ubisoft forward go ahead with their plan 2 shows a year like they said they would do. You will see other publishers like Bandai Namco do their own thing instead of waiting to kind of put their stuff up on someone else's stage. They'll just do their own show. Like, you're gonna start seeing a little bit more organized now that E3 is officially out there, and people don't have to actually think like, oh, well, maybe we'll hold this off in case the ESA gets it together and does an E3 this year. They're not. So you just go ahead and just show what you got. I think you're muted, man.
Oh yeah, I did mute. I said I kind of what I was thinking too. I just think it ultimately comes back to when, as long as developers find a way to bring as much information as possible in a timely manner, I'm good with it. E3, I like the fact that we could get games directly from the source or information directly from the source as much as possible. That kind of makes the whole year kind of like an interesting thing, because you never know, tomorrow something interesting could happen. Like, the moment that they come out and they announce that we're doing something around Perfect Dark, everybody on Xbox is going to be like tuning in. Actually, the world, because everybody wants to see what Crystal Dynamics is doing with the game. So that's kind of exciting. But the unexciting side of it is waiting for Hellblade gameplay and for them to show off combat for 3 years. That's
I think that probably would have been the case whether E3 was still happening.
Oh no, I agree, because they purposely kind of did that on purpose. But I think that's the biggest thing. So hopefully, recapping everything when it comes to everything we talked about. Hopefully, especially when it comes to what's going on with PlayStation and all their games. Right now, the only game that we know that's coming out in the near for PlayStation first party is Helldivers 2. Hopefully we get some type of direct from them, or not a direct, a PlayStation showcase.
No, they need a showcase.
That's what I'm saying. They need a showcase. They need a showcase.
Was sucked. Their last showcase sucked. They out here canceling games, and there is, outside of like, we
delaying games and canceling them.
We know what's coming in the first third of 2024 on PlayStation, and that I am including the third party stuff with that, second party stuff with that. But beyond that, nothing. And then when I say nothing, like, what is there's a Wolverine game. like there's a Wolverine game. And your competition, you can name multiple games that your competition is working on. Like, that's when people talk about a roadmap. That's what they're talking about. And it's not, I know all the release date of games for the next 2 years. That's not realistic. What's realistic is knowing what to expect for the next 2 to 3 years. And we don't have that with them. So I want a showcase. I want a showcase like the way all the insiders were claiming there was going to be a showcase at the end of this year, and it clearly wasn't. But I want a showcase that makes up for the terrible showing they had earlier this year.
Well, listen, you're gonna get your chance at some point. But who knows? We'll get there at some point. But with that being said, Slow-Mo, great show. Once again, shout out to we got 46 people here. We tapped out around 55. Really appreciate everybody that was here earlier and left and had to come back to the stream because of, Discord and OBS having issues with each other, but that's nothing new. But Slow-Mo, please let everybody know what you got going on in your channel, where they can find you, and when's your next video coming out?
Next video, hopefully be out this weekend. It will be about Exodus being made by Archetype Entertainment. I'm still doing research on it. They are in their bag. I mean, Drew Karpyshyn, lead writer for Knights of the Old Republic and the Mass Effect trilogy, is lead writer on this. There's so much information out right now already on the lore of this game, and I'm trying to decide whether this is going to be one video or two. More than likely, it's going to end up being two videos where I kind of like start discussing the lore of the game, and then another video where I'm just giving to everyone like a deep dive of everything to know about its development, and and just all the ins and outs of it, and what to expect potentially with like maybe gameplay and things like that. So look out for that in the next coming days. And I mean, outside of that, I'm just playing games, man.
Just play games. That's all you can do, man.
Right.
That's all you can do. Make sure you pull up your channel members too. For myself, it's Gaming Forte, YouTube, Twitter. You're already on the channel. Really appreciate everybody coming through. Shout out to, like I said, once again, the amazing chat we had. Shout out to the super chat. Shout out to the members that we had. If we had any today, can't really see them on here because they haven't popped up. But for myself over here, we got Donnell Brown, Erodimus, Brat, Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. We also got Stardust Acero, Ramon Terrell, Hargy Chanique, Corey Hill, Slow-Mo Backslap, DJ Oris, and that guy Smitty. You guys are amazing. And hopefully, well, it's going to be on Slow-Mo's channel, so, the gods are going to bless him, and we're not going to have any OBS issues, knock on IKEA desktop wood. But, Slow-Mo, this is a great show. Go ahead with your channel members if you got them.
Give me a second. All right, cool. On my side of things, we have, come on, slow laptop. There we go. We got FTW, Donnell Brown, J0387, Erodimus, Enrique, Hargy Shani, Truth Serum, Ramon Terrell, Homie One Kenobi, Gaming Forte, Corey Hill, Stardust Acero, and that guy Smitty. Thank you guys for supporting us. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Really appreciate it. And with that being said, guys, enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy your night, enjoy your weekend, enjoy the games that you're playing, and we will see you guys next time for another episode 160 on Slow-Mo's channel next week. Peace.
Peace.